But I want to get to a point that Joel mentioned, which is the reality that our cost of public construction is much greater than the cost of private construction. And you're absolutely right. It really comes down to you have design, you have contracts, you have labor. And one of the things that we'd like to focus on, and I think administrations have tried this going back forever. It's one thing we announced we were doing, I think about a year ago, is focusing on the point where you make an initial estimate. And by the time you actually go through your value engineering, it's 9 months, 10 months, a year later, then the costs come in, and holy cow, 30% more than we ever anticipated. And we focused on 4 or 5 things. And I just want to get that out there because it is true that the cost of public construction is a little bit more. I would argue it's not in the efficiencies throughout the process, but really up front. We are faced with the Wicks law, but we did work with Albany and Partners in Labor in changing that threshold amount. I think it's $3 million. $5 million, $3 million, which isn't a large number, but I think it's a step in the right direction. Yes, very baby projects. One of the other things we started to do, and in a limited sense with a pilot, is to make public sector contracts in the public sector be responsible for damages for delay. It was something that contractors dealing with New York City government have been arguing for a really long time, which is, I'm stuck waiting for you to do your change order process, and by the way, you should, and you're stuck wherever, I got to pull guys off the job and put them back off the job, and that's delay and that's time. And so we've established, as part of the administration, a pilot program in a limited number of contracts to actually put in a damages for delay to get that financial incentive to make more companies bid and make us a lot more attractive in order to do that work. We're also spending money on scoping. We're spending cash expense dollars up front to say we need to design this thing right, because we can't wait until 6 months, a year later to realize we really didn't do this thing right. So there are investments that we're doing now. I don't want to say, oh, it's public sector and therefore, we do everything great. We know there are things we need to work on. It's things we are focusing on to make the real benefit of going to a private entity versus a public entity in terms of contracting. We're really trying to get around the contracting process and the design process and the breakdowns that happen in government that doesn't happen in the private sector. And we should be focusing on trying to solve that, because that doesn't even limit just to that one project. That's our entire capital.